boxing champion, who earned the fierce nickname the Camden Buzzsaw, has passed away at the age of 72. His death has been confirmed by multiple credible sources, including statements from his family. It was revealed that Qawi had been locked in a long, painful, and unrelenting battle with dementia, a battle he fought with the same fearless intensity that once made him a nightmare for his opponents in the ring. For over a decade, Qawi endured the affected condition with incredible strength and dignity, refusing to let it define his final years. His death has sent a shockwave of sorrow through the boxing world, prompting heartfelt tributes from former opponents, fans, and sports commentators alike. To them, Qawi was more than just a boxer. He was a symbol of defiance, of resilience, and of what it truly means to reinvent oneself. His life story is the kind that reads like a script from a movie, except every twist and turn was painfully real. He emerged from a troubled youth and a stint in prison to stand atop the sport he came to love. And in doing so, he became a living example of how determination and discipline can reshape a man's destiny. Born in the tough streets of Camden, New Jersey, Dwight Qawi came from an environment that made survival a daily struggle. He was not born into boxing royalty, nor did he have a carefully managed rise through the ranks. His early life was marred and times, but instead of being by that darkness, he found it in the boxing gym. It was behind those ropes that Qawi began the incredible transformation from inmate to icon. With his compact build and high-pressure style, he bulldozed his way into boxing's elite, eventually securing his place among the greatest to ever enter the ring. Inside the squared circle, Qawi was pure pressure. He didn't dance, he didn't run. He walked straight through his opponents, grinding them down with relentless punches and an iron will. His style earned him the nickname the Camden Buzzsaw, a reference to his ability to cut through fighters with relentless aggression. He won world titles in both the light heavyweight and cruiserweight divisions, making him one of the rare few to conquer multiple weight classes. His battles with fellow legends, including Michael Spinks and Evander Holyfield, are still studied and remembered as some of the most grueling and unforgettable contests in the sport's history. But even more powerful than his victories in the ring was the personal journey that carried him there. Qawi's rise was never just about championship belts. It was about redemption. It was about a man taking control of a life that once seemed lost and turning it into something magnificent. His journey inspired countless others, especially those who came from similarly difficult backgrounds, to believe that greatness was still within reach. That legacy is something no illness could ever erase. Now, fans around the world Dwight Muhammad Qawi. They also celebrate everything he stood for. His name will forever echo in boxing halls and gyms where young fighters throw their first punches, dreaming of glory. Qawi may be gone in body, but his spirit, his courage, and his unbreakable will live on. He wasn't just a fighter inside the ropes. He was a fighter for life, and he kept swinging until the final bell. In the final stages of his life, those closest to Dwight Muhammad Qawi say, he faced dementia the same way he faced everything else, with grit, humility, and a quiet kind of bravery. While the disease gradually stripped away parts of his memory and physical strength, it never took away his fighting soul. Even when he was no longer able to walk without help or recall the finer details of his storied career, the fire in his eyes, that unmistakable warrior spirit, still flickered. Friends, family, and fellow fighters often spoke of how he continued to light up whenever boxing was mentioned, proof that the ring had become more than a job. It was a part of his soul. His time in prison during his youth marked a turning point rather than an end. While incarcerated, Qawi was introduced to boxing through a prison rehabilitation program, and became clear almost immediately that he had something special. He wasn't the tallest or the most technically refined, but his determination was unmatched. After his release, he threw himself fully into the sport, training under legendary figures like Joe Frazier, who saw in him the same tenacity and heart that once defined their own rise from there. Most iconic fights remain etched into the memory of fight fans around the world. His clash with Michael Spinks for the light heavyweight title was a test of wills. Two men pushing each other to the limit in a battle of contrasting styles. Then came his war against a young Evander Holyfield in 1986, a brutal 15-round showdown that many still regard as one of the greatest cruiserweight fights in boxing history. Even in defeat, Qawi's performance earned him global respect, proving he wasn't just a title holder. He was a warrior who made anyone who stepped in the ring with him earn every inch. Outside the ring, Qawi was known for his sharp sense of humor and infectious charisma. He loved to talk boxing, sharing stories from his prime with wide-eyed younger fighters who hung on to his every word. He wasn't one to boast, but when asked about his past, he spoke with a kind of quiet pride, not just about his victories, but about the transformation he made as a man. He often mentored troubled youth, encouraging them to see beyond their circumstances and believe in a better future. For Qawi, boxing was more than a sport. It was a vehicle for hope and change. In later years, his appearances became more limited as dementia took its toll. But whenever he did surface at boxing events or Hall of Fame ceremonies, the applause was deafening. He remained a revered figure, not just for his accolades, but for the role. It wasn't just about what he overcame. In an era which often overshadows substance, Qawi reminded everyone that greatness comes from struggle and that the most important victories aren't always measured in belts. With his passing, the boxing world loses one of its most authentic voices, a man who never pretended to be perfect but always gave everything he had. Dwight Muhammad Qawi's legacy will not fade. It will live on in the stories told in gyms, the grainy footage studied by aspiring fighters, and the hearts of fans who understand that boxing at its core is about more than just punches. It's about perseverance, transformation, and fighting for a life worth living. Qawi did all of that and more. He fought, he fell, he rose, and he inspired the world while doing it.